Hello, and welcome to Message in the Middle with Marianne. We all know that life is hard, right? It's messy, it's unpredictable, but it can be wonderful all at the same time. My hope is that we can take a deep dive into self-development topics and explore life's lessons through book clubs, conversations, and interviews. And together, we can uncover the lessons that others have already learned to help us navigate this crazy, wonderful ride called life. Hello and welcome to Message in the Middle with Marianne, and today that's all you get, just me. So if you love my solo episodes, well, you're in luck. If you don't, grab another episode. There's many out there, and I'm sure you can find one with a topic or a guest that you're interested in. All right, so now that you know it's just me, let's jump in. Since we're in June, I thought it would be a great time to put together an episode on goals. So I plan to talk about setting goals, assessing goals and your progress, celebrating the wins, and why you should be in this continuous cycle of assessment and refinement. In order to facilitate all that, I thought I would share some foundational information and then take a look back at what I set my own focus areas for 2023 to be and assess my progress and talk about next steps. Before we dig into my specific plan and how I did, I want to touch base on why I think it's important to not only set goals and intentions at the beginning of the year, but to actually record them. Whether that's a vision board, a list in a notebook, a goal-setting journal, even a voice note on your phone. I don't really think it matters that much. Do whatever works for you, whatever will be convenient, cheap, and you can get back to regularly, because the goal is to get the intention written down and recorded, and that's for many reasons. A couple of them are that it will help you in the future when you're feeling tight on time or struggling to remember what to stay focused on. You can look back or listen back to that list. So as an example of that, if someone asks you to do something, or let's say you're signing up for a class or deciding even what to do for a weekend that you have free, you can look at your goals and you can ask yourself, does this take me closer to my goal or does it take me further away from my goal? And that will help you make the decision on whether or not you want to spend your time on it. I really found that to be very successful in business when building, growing, transforming teams, because it helps determine where our priorities should be and where our budget should go. So similarly, in my personal life, it's the same thing. So where my time should go, where my money should go, where my focus should go, I can always align my activities to my goals, especially when there's big decisions to be made. And obviously, there's some things we have to do in life, whether we like it or not. Work, home, same thing, You don't decide whether you're going to do the dishes if they align to your goals. Well, maybe they do. Maybe one of your goals is, I want to outsource or delegate more to my children. Then maybe deciding not to do the dishes is the right thing. But I think you get my point. In general, we certainly have things that we have to do, and you're not going to do this exercise for every single activity. But for big ones or ones you're contemplating, it's a really great tool to make sure your time and your money are aligned with your desired direction. Writing down your goals will also help you to be clear when you look back to assess progress. You won't be racking your brain to remember what you said you wanted to achieve, and you'll have it all there in front of you. If you're trying to remember what your goals were and specifics around them, you're going to be racking your brain there, and it's going to make that assessment process really hard. So having it written down will really help you do a very quick review. Having it documented also helps you identify and celebrate the wins. 6 months from now, you might not remember specifically what you were targeting at the beginning of the year. If you have it written down, you can. And you'll be able to clearly see when you've made progress toward those goals. It helps you stay focused throughout the year, and it makes it so much easier when you're first starting this process to refine your goals and focus areas. When you first pick them, you can just go down the list, spend a little time vetting through them, and really making sure you have them tight, making sure that they're specific enough that you can then build out a more detailed plan and make progress toward them. And hopefully, if you follow that process multiple times during the year, it will get easier and easier, and you'll end up with some really well-defined goals and action steps that can be put in place and scheduled for monthly or even weekly smaller goals towards the big objective. Okay, so now that we've reviewed why we should define and document our goals, let's talk about reflection or assessment on your progress. The first thing I want to say is how important it is to assess your progress regularly, not just at the end of the year. The more regularly you evaluate and refine your goals, the more likely you are to gain traction towards the desired direction. This doesn't always come easy, though. The assessment requires self-reflection, the ability to really be objective and honest with yourself, and willingness to adapt. So those pieces are probably the hardest. You really, really, really need to be honest with yourself, right? So you're only hurting yourself if you try to pretend you made progress and you really didn't, or if you don't open your mind up to change and, switching your goal up a little bit or adapting to a situation. Life happens. Things change, circumstances change. And just because you set a goal in January or at one point in time, that doesn't mean it has to stay your goal forever. Be open to the change. Keep in mind what it is you are trying to create, what feeling you are trying to create, what person you are trying to become. And that may not necessarily mean that the very specific goal you created ends up being the right one. You might need to tweak it. Just be open to where you get led and the sentiment around what you're trying to create or who you're trying to become. Again, not the very specific goal. Another thing I want to mention is that doing the assessment requires you to wear different lenses, take different perspectives on the review. So when you're looking over your progress, the first thing you want to make sure is that you look for partial completion or progress, not just whether or not you completed the whole goal. You should definitely set aside some dedicated time to do this. It doesn't have to be a lot, but you should set some time apart to have this specific time of review. And just start by asking yourself, what milestones did I achieve? What challenges have I overcome? What areas still need improvement? Those type of questions will get you thinking. And if possible, you want to use quantitative measurements, like if the goal was to save money or pay off debt or shop less, you can ask yourself whether you have more money in the bank. Did you pay off some debts? Have your shopping sprees decreased? That kind of thing. That gives you a quantitative measurement. You can also look at it with a qualitative assessment. Did you develop a new skill? Did you acquire more knowledge? Did you improve quality in one of your focus areas, your relationship or at work, or improve your skills cooking, whatever it was? You should also remember to do a comparative analysis. So compare your progress to where you started, right? So make sure you notice the small incremental improvements. It may not look like you got as far as you wanted to on your goal, but really keep the perspective of, where did I start? Did I make any progress? And am I doing better than the last time I looked at this? And, keep those things in mind as you continue to push forward. The last thing about the assessment process to keep in mind is that you can do it by yourself for sure, and you'll get better and better at it with time. But it's also worth noting that many people find great success in sharing goals with friends or an online community. It gives them somebody else to bounce ideas off of and have more of an objective review of their progress. It gives you an accountability buddy, and you can brainstorm if you get stuck or on different ways to break down a goal. So just think about that as a possibility. Before I close this segment, I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't remind you to make sure that you are patting yourself on the back along the way, even for the small wins. No matter how big, no matter how small, no matter what type they are. You may not have achieved your entire goal, but you may have learned something. You may have made a decision, which ultimately changes your goal, but it makes you get clarity and it helps you continue to make progress forward. So acknowledge those wins. It'll make you feel good. It'll reinforce your desire to make more progress. It'll give you motivation and it'll build your self-confidence. It's super, super important. So please, please, please give yourself the credit. All right. So if you're still with me, let's close this thing out by talking about refinement and adaptation. So we all know, right? Life changes often. Life is messy. It's sort of my tagline, right? And things happen. And so our goals and our focus might need to change, and that's okay. But it's important to check in and ask yourself whether or not the things that you had identified are still the most important to you. If there are still the things you want to focus on, if they still make the most sense. And do that with a lens of curiosity, not judgment. So don't beat yourself up if you say, I don't know why I picked this. It doesn't make sense. I'm never going to do it. That doesn't help. That doesn't work. That doesn't put you in the spirit of trying to make progress. Look at it through the lens of curiosity. So if you picked something that totally doesn't make sense, try to dig into that a little bit. Did you pick it because it really is something you want to change? Did you pick it because there was something else you were trying to avoid? So again, use the lens of curiosity. And so when you do that, if you make a determination that they aren't the right fit anymore, or they need to be tweaked, just do it. Change them. Modify your goals. And don't have judgment about it. And yes, I'm repeating that. It will do absolutely no good for your progress or for the process if you're judgmental about it and you start beating yourself up. Just be realistic and ask yourself questions like why you didn't make progress. Was the goal too vague? Is it not realistic in the first place? Was it too big? Did you set your expectations too high for something that you didn't have either time or money or assistance to achieve, whatever it is? But look at it with that lens and try to determine what you need to do a better job defining it and breaking it down. And don't forget to look at the progress in multiple ways. Whether you made the goal or not, looking and figuring out whether you learned something new or now you might have a better idea of what is needed, or you might see things a little bit differently and feel like you need to go to a different place. And that's all okay. That's part of the process. Sometimes you think you should be, landing in a certain spot or achieving a certain thing. And as you go and you make progress and things change or you learn more, it shifts, and that's okay. Just continue this process of evaluation and make sure you're open to the journey and not just the destination. And that will help you stay in alignment and continuously improving. In closing, I just want to remind you that goal achievement is a journey. It's okay to face challenges along the way. The key is to be consistent and make improvements and adjustments and stay committed to not just your goals, but to making progress, to continuously improving, to trying to find alignment in your life and balance. If you're having a hard time making progress, make sure you're being realistic in what you can do and what's reasonable progress, and connect with your original motivation and reasons for setting the goal in the first place. And look for inspiration from success stories or books or podcasts or other role models that are trying to do the same thing, and try to tap into their journey and their progress for incentive, ideas, inspiration, all of that. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope you'll take some time to review your goals and focus areas if you set them, without judgment and learn to use that process of continuous assessment as a guardrail to keep you on the desired path. If you haven't set any goals yet, it's not too late. It's never, 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 never too late. And set some goals. Refine them, work on getting them tweaked so they make the most sense, and then spend some time breaking them down. Break them down into bite-sized pieces that you can target for smaller goals, whether that be weekly, daily, even monthly, to just kind of break it down and make progress toward the bigger goal. Every little bit counts, and just plug away at it, and you'll find yourself in a much better place and closer to where you want to be. Before I go, I did promise that we would take a look at my vision board and my focus areas and kind of how I feel like my assessment of how I've been doing. And so if I look back at my vision board, let's start with my border. So this year I put a border around mine that said, grateful, appreciative, thankful, and it kind of just repeated that all the way around the border. And that was sort of my way of framing up my year and my mindset that I wanted to keep in the forefront. I'm happy to say that I feel like I've been doing a really great job with that. I think I've really built a solid practice of finding gratitude in my daily life, even for the small things, being appreciative of people and things and places and opportunities, and just being really thankful and grateful and all of that. I just feel like I'm in a different place, and I find those things pretty easily nowadays. And for that in itself, I'm thankful. Then, within my frame itself, my vision board, there were some top areas. One of them was connection, and that was friends, family, and community. There was a section on being well, and that meant financially, to eat more healthy, exercise, sleep well, think positively. So all the things I would put in that bucket of being well. And then there was a section on being ready for adventure and having fun and play. And then there was a section, it said, where others see a challenge, see an opportunity, and spark my creativity and teach, inspire, and motivate. So all in all, when I look at all of these, I think I'm doing fairly well. I definitely have worked on connection. I am very present comparatively speaking, right? There's always work to be done, but I try to live in the moment way more than I used to. As far as being well and all those topics I put in that bucket, I think I'm really doing pretty solid on most of them. Again, there's always things I can do better, and that's probably going to be my top area of focus to refine. I do eat, for the most part, much healthier than I used to, but I can always do better. Same thing with exercise. As some of you know, I started working out with a virtual reality program, and that has helped a lot in that category. I always need to work on my sleep. It's something that I need to continue to try to get better at. That's one of the reasons I started this series on play and rest and sleep. And I have some sleep experts that I'll be talking to. So I do have incremental goals around trying to invest in that topic and implement new methods to help. And then on the have fun and play, ready for adventure, I've done some things. I've had some girls' trips. I've done some on-the-fly adventures with my husband. I have a vacation planned with my granddaughter and another vacation planned in the fall with my husband. All have lots of play involved in them. So I am definitely keeping that at my forefront. Additionally, I find myself relaxing more when I'm playing with my granddaughter. Lots of time I spend with her multiple times a week. And, just tonight I was outside blowing bubbles and running around the yard looking silly, and honestly didn't even think about it till this moment. So I'm finding it easier to let my guard down and to be present, be in the moment, and enjoy it. I know it won't last forever, so I just want to take it all in while I can. So all in all, I'm going to give myself a B minus. I'll say a B minus. I generally think I'm going in the right direction. I'm making good progress in my core areas. I still feel aligned to my focus areas. But yeah, there's definitely some of them that I need to break out and put some more tactical goals together, smaller, measurable milestones that can be built into the daily, weekly steps and roll up so that I can make more progress in those areas. But as a whole, I still feel very, very aligned with these focus areas. And I do think that they've been in the forefront and that I'm making progress in staying aligned with what I want to achieve and where I want to go and really the person I want to become. So yeah, so I think I'm doing okay. I hope you guys will take a few minutes and do a similar exercise, and it doesn't have to take long. It's just a check-in and a little evaluation, assessment. How's it going? Are you still aligned? And what do you need to refine? So that's what that can look like. Simple, easy peasy. Just stay checked in with yourself and be open to being objective. I think that's it, guys. I think that wraps up my check-in. I'd love to hear back from you guys and see how your check-ins went. And if there's anything in the episode that resonated with you, share it with a friend or drop a review. I always appreciate that. Take care. Thank you for listening to this episode of Message in the Middle with Marianne. If you enjoyed the podcast, please take a minute to share it and write a review as it helps bring new listeners to our audience. If you'd like to keep the conversation going between episodes, please join us at Facebook group Message in the Middle with Marianne.